I've been talking to my friends about investing, and there are a bunch of them that ask the question, why invest? Why bother, right? Like, are you going to make more money? Is it a pain? For anyone who wonders, am I going to make money investing? The simple answer is an emphatic yes. If you're intrigued, and if you heard about the fact that you can lose money, there's all this complexity, you should really listen to us. Because we make it simple, and we help you start your investment journey in a way that you take your small bucks and make them big bucks. Hey folks, I'm Subho and you're watching The Big Buck Show. It's a show where we tell you how you can start your investment journey and more importantly, how you can turn your small bucks into big bucks. So let's start with the question. Do you like your freedom? It's philosophical, but it's actually pretty practical. Would you like the ability to do what you want to do, when you want to do, how you want to do? I'm presuming the answer is yes. I haven't met too many people who say, no, don't give me freedom, right? I really want to be told what to do by other people. I don't like freedom of choice. So I'm presuming, like most people like me, you want your freedom. And now you're wondering, hey, this is the Big Buck Show. What does freedom have to do with bucks? A lot, right? Money can't buy love, but it can buy you freedom. And the trick to having the money so that you have the freedom is to start investing early. We're going to talk about what you need to do to start your investment journey and why you should start your investment journey. So let's start with the why. Because like all things, if you don't understand why or if you're not convinced why, nothing's going to happen. So let's take two people. And these two people are essentially two different versions of you. Take the 21-year-old version of you, right, who didn't have a care in the world and who honestly, just wanted to have fun. And take, the future 35-year-old version of you or the current 35-year-old version of you, whatever it may be, and let's see what he or she is thinking about. Now, this is not psychology. I'm not about to give you a free psychotherapy session, but just imagine that your 21-year-old version had started investing, let's say, 1,000 rupees a month on a regular basis. Somehow, in all the chaos of being 21, you had the ability to actually invest a small amount, 1,000 rupees a month. And imagine that, you didn't. So, you went on, did what you had to, and at 35 you wake up and you say, hey, let's start investing the same 1,000 rupees a month. The difference between the 21-year-old you who invested and the 21-year-old you that didn't is roughly 1 crore of rupees. How many of you have thought about going on KBC and speaking to Amitabh Bachchan and saying, oh wow, I won? Fastest finger first, the whole lock kiya jaye. And of course you didn't do it. Because it's hard, right? You have to call the phone, you have to get the answers right. But you could have just gotten to be a KBC winner by investing 1,000 rupees a month. What happens if you start investing at 35? You get 1 crore less, but more importantly, you're not as familiar with what you need to do to continue to grow your wealth. Now, if you're 35 and you haven't invested, this is not the end of the world. It's better to start now versus never. If I give you the same stats saying, hey, 35-year-old you versus 45-year-old you, there's a big difference, right? So now you're wondering, okay, you've talked about, investing, it's worth 1 crore. I may not care about that. But that's not it. Imagine that the 21-year-old you had increased their investment per month 10% every year, right? So first year, 1,000. Next year, 1,100. The year after that, 1,121, right? Small increments every month, year on year. That 21-year-old you would have now added 2 crores to your portfolio. Right? Not 20,000, 20 lakhs, 2 crores. Now you're thinking, look, what are you talking about? Am I investing in risky stocks? Are you telling me to invest in instruments that are going to be extremely risky and I may lose my money? No, I'm not. I'm just, this is just a normal investment in an index that on average returns between 10 to 12% a year. So it's not rocket science. It's way better than a fixed deposit, right? That gives you 4 or 5%. And it's absolutely in your power to do. It is not, learning how to fly an aeroplane, which is way more complicated. It is literally saying, let's set up the UPI transfer and don't interfere with it. So this makes a significant difference to your life. But the reason you don't do it is not because you know about this and you don't want to, it's because it's not something people understand. People don't understand the value of compounding. If you aren't convinced, I can just tell you this. Having money is more fun than not, right? So I would highly recommend that you look at other people who have money or more money and you look at yourself. And if that doesn't motivate you to invest, look at what happens to people as they grow older who don't have the financial muscle to live comfortable lives, right? Now, there's also another reason why you should invest, right? If the gloom and doom scenario about living in absolute poverty doesn't really get you going, it's also about learning, right? So if learning interests you, or if just the excitement of investing and the rush that you get from understanding how a company does and investing in the right instrument so you see that return graph go up, that's as good a reason as any. But I come back to, Maslow's hierarchy of needs and saying your most basic need is safety, security, and the ability to be free. So, and of course there's other things. But I've talked about why, I've given you some, psychological tips, but let's also talk about what. That's as important. So the first thing is actually linked to the why. You figure out your relationship with money. Do you want to be, an Arabpati or a Crorepati? आपको क्या करना है life में, right? That's what you have to figure out. If you really want as much money as you can make, then obviously, you're making those choices. Your work-life balance, how much you invest, all have to be consistent. Or you might say, look, I want enough to be comfortable. Why is the relationship with money important? A, for your sanity, but B, because then you know how much you want to invest, right? If I want to go and eat out every day, take a vacation to Malaysia, and buy a fancy car that I can't really drive in Bombay, right? Then the amount I can save is going to be limited. If I don't mind eating out only at Shiv Sagar and eating my sada dosa, right? And getting pleasure from taking an Uber and saying, look, I took a really nice Uber today, and I don't want a vacation outside of Mahabaleshwar, you'll have much more money to save. And each person to his own. So figure out your relationship with money and then decide how much you want to spend and how much you want to save. But if that saving number is 0, you've got it wrong. And no matter who tells you what, you are literally the grasshopper. Grasshoppers die in winter, right? So that's step 1. What's your relationship with money? Step 2, can you make some goals? Now, super hard, right? If you're 21, you're thinking, what are you talking about, Subho? Like goals? My goal is to get drunk. That's a goal, by the way. But make some financial goals, right? Hey, I want to drink Grey Goose every other week. You can literally save and then, take your earnings and invest it in Grey Goose. That's okay. I did that when I was 20. I didn't have Grey Goose though, right? I had spun off. Or you could say, no. I want to set a goal that I want to buy a bike. Or I want to finance my MBA, or I want to buy a house, right? Or, if you're really in love with a significant other, you want to plan a fantastic honeymoon when you get married. Or if you're older, you have a child coming and you want to plan for the education. The goals don't matter. Having them does. You know what your goals are. And if you have a goal, the motivation I was talking about, right? There's another level of motivation to saying it's not just, oh my God, I don't want to die in poverty. It's I want to achieve something along the way. And that is pretty important because that again gives you the motivation, the discipline to save and to benefit from the power of compounding. So we've covered 2 steps now. Relationship with money, the goals that you have. There's a 3rd step. What's your financial muscle? How much are you earning? Are you salaried? Do you have a business? Do you get pocket money? Doesn't matter, but you've got to figure out your income and look at what's coming in, figure out what's going out, right? What has to go out? Things like rent, fees, electricity bills, and things that may not have to go out, but you want to go out, right? Eating out or a vacation or maybe an EMI on something. And then with what's left, you have to figure out what you want to do. And that's where the relationship with money and your goals comes together to say, hey, do I save more? Do I cut down expenditure? What do I do with the money I have left? And finally, you can do all of this, right? I mean, I often think in the shower that I want to write a book, right? I know why I want to write a book. I know what I would like to write about, but I never really get down to writing. And if you never really get down to actually getting that instruction to transfer some money from your account into an investment account, all of these 3 steps will not matter. So you have to finally divide your income and say, at the beginning of the month, I'm going to take 100 rupees, 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees. If you're super rich, 25,000 rupees. If you're ultra rich, a lakh. The amount doesn't matter. But some amount is going to go in to savings. And again, why? Because the power of compounding is immense. And so the earlier you start, the better it is. So those were the 4 steps. Let me repeat. 1, you figure out your relationship with money. 2, set some goals. Goals that matter to you, right? But set them. 3, understand how you will fund those goals, right? What changes will you make in income and expenditure? And the most important step, make the transfer. Now you're wondering, where do I invest? Right? What's my strategy? We'll come to that. This is episode 1. Give me a little time. Like there'll be episode 2, episode 3. We'll cover what you invest in. But it doesn't matter what you invest in if you're not investing, so start. Right? Now, let's go back to philosophy. I've given you tactics. I've given you, lots of reasons to think about why you should invest. But there's another big reason. Let's think about luck. You've looked at that other person in your friend circle. He just happened to be there when his rich uncle needed help. He helped him. Then his rich uncle, after a long life passed away and he was given, 3 houses, 2 cars, etc. And you're like, oh my God, that's luck. Then you looked at the other person who won the lottery and you're like, oh my God, so lucky he won the lottery. Then the other person who got this amazing job, you're like, so lucky, successful in his professional career or her professional career. But none of this luck happens the way you think it does. The person whose uncle gifted him all the property took care of his uncle, was there when his uncle needed him. He created his own luck. The person who won the lottery at least went out and bought a lottery ticket. Now, that may be a pretty bad decision in general from an odds perspective, but they took some action. So while I don't condone buying the ticket, what I'm talking about is there's an action. No one gifted this person the lottery ticket. And when you look at a person succeeding in their career, they're probably going into work, putting in, a lot of energy, really treating it like it's something they want to succeed in. Luck is the outward manifestation of success when you don't understand what all went into it. It's like a duck. You see the duck serenely sailing on the water. What you don't understand is the pedaling that goes on underneath. And why am I waxing eloquent about luck? Not because, I like to wax eloquent, but because if you don't swing, there is no way you can hit. You're always missing. It comes back to the investment lesson I'm trying to give you, which is you've got to swing to hit. Swinging here is setting aside a regular amount. Now, what happens after that, right? Do you get 20% return or 5% return and so on and so forth? We can talk about. But if you don't swing, you cannot hit, right? So that's what I'm talking to you about. Now, how should you start? Start simple. Today, if you haven't started investing today, just put some money aside. Add a question, send us a comment. If you want some free personal advice, I'll actually respond as to how. But put some money aside that you think is material for you, right? Don't make it complicated. Don't try and figure out an investment strategy. Just start putting some money aside and we'll tell you where to put it in shortly. So let's just step back and recap what we learned about. A, no matter what your age, you might be 21, 30, 40, right? If you're 20, start investing now. you have not missed the bus. If you're 30 and you're not investing, you've missed the bus, but let's get you an Ola so you can get on the journey. Start investing now. If you're 40 and you haven't started investing, you're in trouble, my friend, right? But you'll be in less trouble if you start investing now. I think you're seeing the theme. Start investing now. Why? Because if you have small bucks like I do, that's the only way you get it to be big bucks. That's why. So, 3 cardinal rules. 1, it starts with you. No one else is going to do it for you. Not your mother, not your father, not your husband/wife, especially not your husband if you happen to be a wife. Right? Women, which we'll cover in another episode, do not take this seriously. 2, small steps first. Don't try and put aside a lakh a month to start with. Start with 500 rupees or 100 rupees. Right? So small steps first. And 3, create your own luck. You can do it, and you'll realize that as you think about creating your own luck, you will indeed get more lucky. Hey folks, thanks for watching The Big Bucks Show, and tell us how you thought about this episode in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel please, and hit the notification bell so you get a notification next time a video shows up. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media. We have a Twitter channel, a YouTube channel, and of course also an audio podcast. And hey, continue watching us so that you can turn your small bucks into big bucks.